Hello, everyone, and welcome to the PowerTalk Ask the Expert. I am Dr. Angelica Benavides, and also known as Dr. B. In fact, people also know me as the Queen of Connection because I love to connect with people from all over the world, and I love to introduce them to you. And today I have a special guest, and it's Michelle
Guelfand.
Guelfand, and we're going to be having a really interesting topic that I love. It's my desired outcome, and she has an academy. And Michelle is focusing on holistic wellness and is passionate about empowering individuals and groups so that they can overcome unconscious mental, emotional, and physical barriers and reach their desired outcome through holistic coaching, workshops, and lectures. Now, Michelle holds an MBA and is an expert in neurolinguistic programming and guided imagery and, of course, positive psychology. So welcome to Power Talk, Michelle. Thank you for saying yes.
Thank you so much, Dr. Angelica, for inviting me to your Power Talk. I'm really humbled and so happy to be in your show.
Thanks. So tell us more. Why my desired outcome? How did that come about and how was it born?
So basically, it started off when I had this calling. I used to work for 14 years in the high-tech industry. And through that, I did my MBA degree. But as I took my maternity leave for my third child, I decided I want to change in my life and be more present with my motherhood. I was then also in a toxic environment at work. And I decided it will be a good time for me to retire. It was full of uncertainties, and I used to like to have certainty in my life, so I didn't know where life will take me, but I knew I need a change and want to be present in my motherhood. So in a way, I surrendered and let the universe and see what happens. And so half a year into my maternity leave, I started asking, have an internal conversation with myself, what will be the next thing that I'll do? And a friend said, well, send the question to the universe and the answer will come. And at that time, I didn't have much connection and didn't really know what she meant. So I walked with a baby stroller in the street, look at the sky and say, okay, so what will be the next thing that I'll do? And one day during breastfeeding, in a really moment of gratitude and for the awe, for the connection, I had this calling, and it says NLP and guided imagery. And I didn't know anything about it at the time, but I had this urge, this compelling urge to go and study and learn. And through that, I found that it addresses two of my major passions in life. The love for languages, and here it's the language of the brain, of the mind, and the love for people. And the more I learned, and the more I realized how fascinating this world is and the greatest things that we can heal from within, I wanted to help others more and more. So originally it was a journey for myself, but the more and more I was practicing it, I realized I can really help others as well. So this journey already started around 10 years ago in Israel, where I already called my business then. It was called From Imagination to Reality. Back then in Israel, From Imagination to Reality. And when I moved to the States over 6 years ago with my family, the phrase did not work out as much, from imagination to reality, as much as it sounded in Hebrew before. But what it really is focusing on your desired outcome, what it is that you want in your life, instead of focusing on what it is that you don't want in your life, because it's very frustrating to be in a place where you don't want to be. And it's very empowering to start focusing on what is your desired outcome and make the steps to getting there.
And I love what you said, because you said a lot, but the really good chunks that I want to talk about, you talked about, well, you didn't say it, but it's trust. Like, you had to trust the process of life, right?
Yes.
And you also had to surrender. You used the word surrender. So those two are really powerful, because when people have to make a decision in life, and you talked about asking for your answers, and I truly believe in intuition and divine guidance, and I think that when you actually trust and you surrender to that guidance, it is powerful. It's powerful. So tell us, after that, did you continue practicing that intuitive guiding system? I always call it, we have an internal GPS, So what would you say to people?
So I know that so first of all, I think it started off with a time of struggle, because I did grow up in a fairly secular environment. So the notion of God was not something we practiced at home. But it was in a moment of struggle, was like a year or so before, like almost 2 years before, I started having things that I didn't anticipate in my life. Up until that point, I felt like whatever I'm setting my mind to, I get. I wanted to study, it was clear to me that I'll study in university. So my BA is in linguistics. Like, I had milestones that I wanted to achieve, and I achieved them. So until that point in life, I thought wherever I set my mind to, I achieve. And then became a time of circumstances that things happened without my control. So there was massive organizational changes, and like over 80% of the company was laid off, and I was one of them. So it started off with being laid off from a company that I worked for 10 years. And then, but I accepted the changes, said it's a good time for change. And then I wanted to get pregnant with the third. It was not as easy as the first ones, but it was still fairly fine. I approached another company. I went through a process of the recruitment process. So I went through 7 stages, and then they told me I didn't get the job. So the first thing was, okay, I got fired. Then the job I applied for, I wasn't accepted, even though I felt like, okay, I'm doing all that I can do. A day after, I was notified by the ultrasound technician that the fetus is dead. So I lost the child. It was in fairly early pregnancy. So it was like the end of the first trimester. So it's fairly early still. But all of these things together, I was puzzled, because I used to think that whatever I set my mind to, I get. And here there are things that I don't have any control of. And now what? Now I need to start deal with it. So I went into a process of surrendering, because there's nothing I can do, and I can only trust what happens. And yes, in time, things came for the better. I got another job, I got pregnant, and I told my son years after, when he was old enough to have a conversation, I told him of the miscarriage that I had, for example. And I told him, you know what, I feel blessed, because if I hadn't had that miscarriage, I wouldn't have you. And you are such a miracle child. So sometimes in time, we have those struggles and we don't know where it will lead us to. But then over time, we make there's a phrase in Yiddish, I think, man makes plans, God laughs, or, life happens when you think you're planning and you know what's going on, and we don't always. So I think the combination of trusting yourself that you can handle things and do your steps that are under your control on the one hand, and trusting the universe or God or higher consciousness or the divine or the source for things to work out for the better eventually, is a good combination to live by.
I love that. I love what you're saying because, I think we're like a willow tree, that we can bend and fold and we're being put to the test, that we become very flexible, very resilient, and we're able to bounce back, right? Instead of breaking. A lot of times when we do break, I always say that there's another transition. We're like butterflies. We transform into something else, right? When we do
Right.
break. So there's that possibility. And I love that you're into the neurolinguistic programming, because that's one of my favorite tools that I use with people, because language, when we communicate with people and when we want to help them reframe, I think that language is powerful. Like words are powerful, right? Even when you're claiming it.
Yes, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I find myself, for example, words are really powerful because it's the thoughts we instill in our head, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it can discourage us or empower us, right? And we sometimes don't notice the words we tell ourselves, and it runs in a loop.
Mm-hmm.
So I find myself, for example, that if I tell myself, "Oh, I have to do this, I have to do that," it sounds like a burden, and I feel, and it weakens me. But if
Mm-hmm.
I tell myself, "Oh, I get to do it," so it's changing one word from "I have to do it" to "I get to do it." It
Mm-hmm.
already brings excitement and feeling blessed and more of curiosity. So it's really minding our words that can really make a whole difference in our experience.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Absolutely. I'm going to write that up and put it up here for us. So words are powerful, and even we have to be careful in what we say and how we say it. Even when we want to manifest, because it's about your desired outcome. So one of the things in NLP that we usually work with is, and I always tell my clients, is like, you have to, when you construct and design your goals, you have to really check and see, am I getting closer or am I getting away from my goals, right? Because that's one way to figure out how close are you to the goal. A lot of times people get discouraged because they create these big, humongous goals and they have to chunk it down into little baby steps so that they can feel encouraged and they can feel that success, right, that they're achieving. So,
Right. And
what
I
would
think
you?
the first thing begins with, first of all, acknowledging and realizing where you are right now. So to notice the starting point, because then when you look back, you know where you started. Because sometimes we make the change and we take it for granted now, but only when we look back, we see the progress that we've made. So it starts with, knowing where you are and looking at it and putting the intent you want to make in the change that you want to make. And sometimes, we don't want to, in a way, limit our goal into a very specific one, because, we need to be open for opportunities that will grow from our change. And sometimes we still need to have like a certain compelling future that we aspire to be, or the person we want to be, or the relationships we want to bring in, or the state of mind that we want to be at, that will empower us rather than discourage us.
I think that's powerful, because even the people that we surround ourselves with is really important. We're talking about the powers of words. For those of you that are just watching right now, we have Michelle with us, and this is the PowerTalk Ask the Expert. So this is a powerful conversation because words are powerful. And Michelle was just saying that you have to mind your words, like be very cautious. Awareness is huge, Michelle, especially when you are creating these goals and you have these desires. And I think one of the things that people have problems with is they have the goal, right? And this is where they might be, but they want to get here. So I think one of the things is you have awareness of your thoughts, right? The actions, but also they have to monitor their beliefs and the emotions that they're feeling, because if there's a misalignment between the emotions and the belief that you can't achieve it, I think that that's where people get discouraged and they want to completely give up, and they struggle. So what would you say to people that are experiencing that misalignment?
Yes. So the way that I work with people is through holistic, results-oriented coaching.
Mhm.
So first, I meet the people where they are and notice through listening to their language, and sometimes from a conversation, asking intriguing questions, finding those limiting beliefs, because these are our blind spots. We're not aware that we have them. A belief is something that we walk in the world with 100 conviction that it's the absolute only truth.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it's a belief that empowers us and advances us, that's great. But when it is such that weakens us,
Mm-hmm.
then we want to reconsider and at least question and inquire this belief. So it first starts with finding those beliefs, because we're not even aware that we're having them.
Exactly.
So the first thing will be, as you said, is if people don't think it is possible for them, the change, nothing will happen.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing to do is first to understand that if it's possible in the world, it's also possible for you. And recalling those times where you were successful, maybe in another life area, and you just forgot that you are a capable human being, that you can do that. And it's walking with your clients one step at a time and breaking it to little steps, as you said, and every time to release another barrier, every time to release another unconscious, emotional or mental barrier to achieving what it is that you want. One of the powerful questions that, if someone is experiencing a situation and they tell me, this person acted this way, that means that they don't like me. That means that they don't respect me. That means, they're making this connections. This person acts like this. That means they don't. And sometimes, I offer them to, to check what could be the other possibilities, what could be the other options for why that person behaved the way they did. Most times it is not related to you.
Exactly.
So just looking at the other options, broadens the perspective and allows us to interpret the situation in a way that lessens the emotional impact that it had on us before.
Exactly. I just want to acknowledge hola Mónica Cordan. Muchos saludos. They're asking if we can say hi. So we're saying hi in Spanish.
Hola.
So one of the things that I do in order to break through some of these beliefs when I have it, or when I'm encountering that I don't know if the word friction is the correct word, but when I'm clashing with someone else because of our beliefs, right? Our different positions that we're standing in. I think that I do like breath work. And I believe in energy, like visualization, like visualizing. So I visualize either, like fire around me to kind of get rid of that energy, because I have to do different things with my mind in order to help me and shift my state of being. Because sometimes people could take me there, in that anger or that sadness or in uncomfortable circumstances that I don't want to be in. So, what are some of the things that you recommend for people that when they do feel that they have that friction or that indifference, like what would you suggest that they can do?
Yeah, so first of all, yeah, I really like what you said about
Mhm.
breath work. This is, sometimes taking a few deep breaths, brings it changes, when our body, this is the mind body connection, right?
Mhm.
When we start getting ourselves into an intense or stressful mode because we're triggered by somebody,
Mhm.
um, then the stress hormone, the cortisol levels go up. We start our heartbeat goes up. We tend to be more stiff in our body. So as we take a deep breath in through the nose and exhale through the mouth, starting lower that heartbeat, we really send a message to our mind that everything's okay. So this is the first thing to do. Sometimes it happens really fast, and if we're not mindful of that, we're not doing that in real time. But the more we bring it into our attention, we can start practicing that. So that's a good place to start, as you said.
Mhm.
The other thing is remind ourselves that sometimes it's really not personal. It's
Mhm.
really not personal. And have that inner talk that, everything's okay. Everything will be okay. Um, it is also sometimes not with conversation with people, it's sometimes trying to find out what is the positive intention of that person acting the way they do,
Mhm.
and not look at the behavior that we may not agree with, but what are they really trying to say? What is so important to them that they try to convey, maybe not in a very effective manner?
Mhm.
So, in a way, to be curious about the other person and think, what is, come with a curious mindset and think, what are they trying to tell me now? What's
Mhm.
bothering them? Maybe I'll be the one that. So it's in a way taking a little bit, being in the situation, but a little bit taking a different perspective, or like an outsider observer perspective, and say, that's interesting.
Mhm.
Um, so that could also be helpful.
Yeah.
Um,
I like what you're saying. For those of you that are joining us right now, this is the Power Talk Ask the Expert, and we do have Michelle here. We're talking about language, we're talking about beliefs and how to shift them, especially when you are not in alignment with someone else and there's that friction. What do you do? And one of the things that I love what you're saying, because I've worked in the educational system for more than, like, I think 30 years. And one of the things that I know is that when kids are misbehaving, they're communicating something to us, you know? So we need to find out when these adults are misbehaving, right? Then we need to figure out, what are they trying to communicate? Like, what's really going on? Like you said, it's beyond us. It's not us. It's something is happening inside them. And we're probably triggering them, right?
yes, and it's probably, their inner child that is jumping off.
Mm-hmm.
Probably that as well. Those areas in life that have not been treated or processed well. Because if we don't do this inner personal development work, there will be that inner child in us that will, try to defend themselves with the
Mm-hmm.
tools they had when they were young.
Yeah.
And at this time, we didn't have much of um, resources to deal with life as we
Mm-hmm.
have now. So, if we are in a stronger position, we can allow to be the stronger one in the conversation, in that we don't take things personal in the way. We're not dragged into the confrontation, but we try to, remain calmer. I
Mm-hmm.
remember one time I went to a chiropractor, and I got some, good service. But I realized that then I got the bill. I asked them to use my insurance, and I got the bill, and it was way more than I anticipated. Way, way more. When I called the office, I didn't like the response. They said, oh, and they told me if I went cash, it would be like, I don't know, only 20% of that I would have paid, even less. But they told me, but you wanted to go through insurance, and they were out of network. I didn't know that at the time. So I thought, but you weren't transparent with me and you didn't tell me about it. So I left that conversation with the administrator office, and I thought to myself, what can I do? I could get angry and mad. I could write a bad review on Yelp. But then I stopped myself. I said, what is my desired outcome? What am I looking for? I'm really looking for a solution here. I'm looking to get some kind of a refund, to get reimbursed, to get some understanding, I don't know. But so I thought about it, and I decided to talk directly to the chiropractor, which she was a very nice lady, and I had a good service. Before I made that call, I looked at my whiteboard in the kitchen where I wrote, a few guidelines to my family members. One of them was treat others the way you wish to be treated. So I was looking at this phrase and telling myself, if I were that service provider person, I wouldn't want someone to come shout at me and be not happy with me. I would like them to respect me and have a nice conversation to begin with. So I set my intent that I really, just want to convey my message, but in a very respectful manner. And I called her and I said, listen, first of all, thank you for the service you've given me. I'm really grateful for that. But then I told her what has happened, and I told her, but you know what? I was really puzzled and confused. This is not what I expected. So, what can we do? And you know what? She thanked me so much for giving her that feedback, that the office runs that way. And she said, you know what? Let me think about it. And she came back to me a few days later and she said, listen, I found a solution. First of all, I talked to my office administrator so that things like this will not happen. Mm-hmm. And second, I want to offer you, and she offered me 13 more sessions for free, plus giving me a check refund on the cash I gave the office. Wow. And I said, wow, I'm so, I didn't expect that. That's a lot. I mean, mm-hmm. Are you feeling fine with it? Are you, mm-hmm. congruent with it? Is it okay with you? Because I want it to be a win-win for both of us. Mm-hmm. And she says, yes, I really feel good about it. So I said, and she said, if you, do all this thing and want to leave after that, that's also fine. No strings attached. Wow. So I was really, wowed by her service. And I did take the sessions that she gave me. But this is just to tell you, we could have come from confronting sides, right? I wasn't pleased with what happened, and it could be really confrontational. Mm-hmm. But only setting the intent in advance for me to get the desired outcome in a win-win way for both of us made the whole difference.
Mm-hmm. I love it. I love it because, yeah, it's being very intentional with our actions and the outcome that we want to get. I love it. I love it because you spoke up, and it's still that win-win concept, right? You weren't going in like, attacking her and yelling and screaming, but it was a win-win concept. And at the end, she still felt good. And I love that because a lot of people are either about revenge or getting back at people. And when you begin to create that energy, I think that a lot of people get hurt in the process of, of reacting instead of being proactive and being intentional in how you're going to respond to people. I love it. So how can people get in touch with you, and what do you want to offer them? This is going to go live for a long time, and it's also going to be on Blog Talk Radio Show. So how can people find you? And
So yes, people can find me. So let me just say that my focus of work is holistic wellness, and I
Mhm.
really love the mind body connection and helping people also address sometimes their physical symptoms, which they may try, and I really, first of all, I advise people to go consult with physician first. I'm not a doctor, but I
Mhm.
do believe that through my experience and my also my I've helped myself, my family members, my clients in tens of cases where sometimes a physical symptom is really based on an emotional or mental aspect that we're not aware of. It's on our subconscious mind, and when we address that root cause of the problem, the physical symptom is gone. It's as
Mhm.
simple as that. And it's a miracle, or it's like magic. So and for me, that's one of the things that I like to do, is give people hope, because at times people feel like they did everything they could, they consulted with all the doctors and all of that, and still nothing changes because they haven't addressed the mental and emotional aspect of it.
Mhm.
And when they are courageous enough to deal with it, then the body does not need to communicate a pain or a physical symptom, because we
Mhm.
listened to it and we made a change. So I invite whomever this resonates with to go check my website at mydesiredoutcome.com, where they could schedule a free 20-minute call with me and see if I can be of help, and see if there's a fit,
Mhm.
and if we can move forward. I recently also took upon myself to do a 10-day live challenge on Facebook, where each day I give some tip or some a view to the world. So if they go to my Facebook page, they can I invite them to listen to it and be inspired and be hopeful.
That's beautiful because people right now, it's that time when we're daring people, like, we dare you to go do this. And it's through challenges that will help people get the outcome that they desire. So I'm going to recommend, Michelle, that you reach out, connect with her. I mean, I always say if there's something free, you go and you take advantage of it, because you never know who might be the one that has that golden touch that will transform your life. So connect with Michelle, because, in fact, she was part of my Discover Your Inner Healer. And I really want to thank you for being there and participating. I loved it. It was a beautiful event and
Yes,
experience.
it
So
was it was an inspiring event, Dr. Angelica. It was beautiful. It was so empowering event, and each participant, I think, really, we were enlightened by the experience. It was a beautiful. So thank you for allowing me to take part in this.
thank you, and thank you for being part of it, because we touch lives. And I think that together, there's that quote, I mean, a proverb that says that, if we're doing it alone, we can go really fast. But when we're doing it together, we can really dive deeper and touch people in a deeper way. And that's my intent, through these power talks, is being able to inspire people, even one word. If we say one thing, Michelle, one of the things that I can tell you is that there's people that I don't even know sometimes. When I'm in San Diego, California, I'm in different parts of the world, and they connect, and I never even saw a like from them. I never even knew they existed. But when they see me and they say, I've been listening to you, or I heard, and when you said, one lady told me that she was ready to commit suicide, and she heard something I had been talking about, and it shifted her whole perspective. Before, I used to look for likes on my Facebook. I used to look at the little like who's watching, and now I don't even do that, because I know that whoever needs to listen to this will listen to it. And if that's just one person that we helped today, tomorrow, or next week, I don't know when they're going to watch it, then that's my intent, to be able to help someone in the world, right? And I
Right.
think
And if we, there's a phrase in Hebrew saying, if you save one soul in the world, it's as if you save the whole world. Well, at least to that person, you save the whole world to them.
exactly. Say it
So,
in Hebrew. Say it in
yeah,
Hebrew. I want to hear it. How do you say it in Hebrew?
it says, המציל נפש אחת בעולם, כאילו הציל את העולם במלואו. את העולם כולו.
I love
Yes.
it. Oh,
And
I
you know
love
what? And I want to say something else. I thought, maybe if you ask me what is one of my the most songs that I love, that would be Color Esperanza.
Okay.
Colors of Hope of Diego Torres. I used to dance salsa, and I love this song because it brings hope.
I love it. You know what? I love salsa. I love merengue. I love moving the body. In fact, whenever I'm stuck and I feel sad or I feel angry or whatever, like I go downstairs, and even if I'm by myself, like I just move my body. It's like, let's get this anger out,
Yeah, it's a lot of energy. We have to get it out of our system, out of our body, and that it allows for something else to come in, something that's more beneficial for us and everyone that is around us. Definitely. And music has the power to do that.
It does. And the most important thing, if you're listening, it's about shifting the mindset. Like having the awareness and knowing, you know what, I'm mad, I'm upset, whatever you're feeling, like being in acceptance with what you're feeling and knowing where you're at, and then knowing, okay, where do I really want to be? Well, I want to be happy. So it's also like a habit of trying to shift your mindset, and the dancing, like we were talking right now, helps us really fast to change it, right?
Yes,
Nature
definitely.
helps.
Changing the physical body really changes the physiology, really changes our mood, our state of being. Yes, and it's a matter of choice. We need to remember we have a choice in life, because sometimes we feel very victimized, and sometimes life is tough. Life is, it's not always, happy. And we need to remember at any given time, we have a choice, at least on our state of being, in a way, as much as we can, and taking back control and taking back that ownership of ourselves. That, right now I will focus on this, I will focus on that, because there's a saying, what you focus on grows, right? If you're focusing on being sad, angry, frustrated, we'll get more of that. Exactly. But do we really want that, or do we want something else?
Yeah, that's so true. I'm writing a book, and it's like either you grow or you glow. That's one of the things that I say in my book. It's like, do you want to grow? I mean, there's times that you're going to grow, and there's times that you're glowing. You're going to glow. People are going to recognize you. They know that you're outstanding, you're awesome, you're amazing. But there's times that people need to know, and you need to let them know, I'm growing right now. Like, I don't get this. I don't understand it, so that you are so transparent and clear. I'm very bold with people. But I had to learn, because it's a skill to be bold, right? Other times I was shy, I was quiet, and I keep a lot of things to myself. I was more like a people pleaser. Okay, if you said something, I was like, okay. So I wouldn't hurt your feelings. I wouldn't get hurt. But now it's like, no, I'm just bold. I'll just say what I'm feeling. But it's been helping me grow through the whole process. So
yes, and we need to remember, each one of us is really unique. Each one of us has their subjective experience, their life experience, their what they love to do, their passions, their struggles, their triumphs in life. And we don't need to always, some of the frustration comes up from us comparing us to other people. And we're thinking we're not good as others. And we need to remember, everyone has their scars, everyone has their struggles to one point or another. And we should only strive to compare ourselves to ourselves, to become a better version of ourselves each and every day, to grow. And, as we are compassionate to babies, as they make their first steps, as they grow. You know, if a baby would tell themselves, oh, I didn't manage to stand up today, or, you know, from crawling to standing to walking to running to jumping, and they will be discouraged by failing and not being able, you know, how would they, or, you know, starting to talk. So we need to be compassionate with ourselves. You know, I'm making steps. I'm making baby steps, but it's better than it was before. So just having that encouraging inner voice telling us, okay, just keep going, not running, just keep going. And you'll get there as the more you're persistent and consistent with your work or whatever it is that you grow, then you'll get there.
I love it, because I think that everybody, you know, if you're watching this, I'm about helping people leave legacies. You know, you have to live your legacy, and by connecting with people, talking to people, leaving your mark on this world, like, you have to know and be intentional as to how do you want to touch lives. That's living your legacy. And then how do you want to change generations? And it's not just about now, it's about 100 years from now. You know, don't focus on the how, because the process will always change, but focus on your big why. Why do you want to make a difference? Why do you want to touch lives? So if you're watching this, I do want to invite them, Michelle, because one of the things that I do, it's the legacy, you know, ultimate legacy builder. And it's about finding co-authors, and I give people opportunities. I have different books that I'm writing, and I look for people to write chapters with me. And then I create virtual stages. You know, I put them on my virtual stages after we write the book. And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of excitement. Right now we have the World Women of Vision book that's coming up really soon. We have the 21 ways to eat an elephant. We're talking about the chunking processes. Discover your inner healer. I'm looking for writers also for that book. So I have several in the oven that are cooking. So if you are looking to tell your story, leave a legacy, and just leave it from here and beyond, because books last forever. And we might leave one day, but your message needs to stay behind, and we want you to touch lives. So that's a little bit about me. I'm Dr. B, and I want to thank you, Michelle, for being here, because I loved our conversation. We can keep on forever.
Yes. Thank you for having me. That was so much fun.
It was. Thank you. And I just want to thank all of you. A big kiss and a big hug to all of you. And believe in you, because your dreams are worth living. Thanks.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.